Hey YouTube. Well, Minnesota Vikings lost last night to the Green Bay Packers, but I am a true fan. I know how to cheer for the team when they lose. Been doing it for a long time, so that's nothing new to me. A few things I want to talk about with the game last night. I want to talk about what Minnesota did poorly, what Green Bay did well, what Green Bay did poorly, and what Minnesota did well, and then I want to look ahead to Indianapolis briefly. What Minnesota did poorly. Okay, tight end Visanthe Shenko. You gotta hang on to the ball. Dropped passes hurt the team, and I know everyone drops a pass now and then, but the Vikings signed you, paid you a lot of money, and you had a bad case of the dropsies last year, and it looks like it's starting to happen again already this year. So, you had a few good catches, and that's great, but stop dropping the ball. Also, Shenko tipped the ball in the end zone, and Berrien still almost caught the tipped ball for a touchdown, but I think even if Shenko hadn't tipped it, Berrien might have had a better chance at it. So there's that. Shenko, if we wanted to pay a tight end to drop passes, we could cut you and pay Garrett Mills significantly less to do the same thing, and I happen to think Mills has more upside. So straighten out. Sloppy special teams coverage. That Green Bay kickoff return for a touchdown or punt return, forget which, it was a nice run and nice blocking by Green Bay, yes, but it was also poor play on the Vikings' part, and that's what helped it to happen. Without that special teams touchdown and everything else the same, that game would have been, Green Bay would have had 17 points, and Minnesota, instead of 19, probably would have had 18 or 20 because they scored that one later and would have gone for a 2-point conversion. And with Minnesota's defense great stop at the end to give Minnesota the ball back with a minute left or 2 minutes left, would have happened later in the game. So I feel like that alone could have been the difference. It was a sloppy game on all sides of the ball, granted, but still, that special teams play is inexcusable. Brad Childress. He is terrible at challenging. Every time he throws the red flag, I cringe. And even before they start showing the replays, I get this sinking feeling. Then they do show the replays, and I'm darn sure, and then the referee comes out and proves me right. The call on the field stands. Minnesota will be charged with a timeout, and that timeout could have come in handy late last night. So, Childress, hang on to that red flag, okay? Don't get so excited, buddy. Tavares Jackson did get lucky a couple of times. He made some mistakes that could have been worse than just incompletions, but most of them weren't. He only actually threw the one pick at the end of the game, but I hope that those mistakes scare him into playing just a little bit smarter. Okay, what Green Bay did well. Aaron Rodgers did have a very nice touchdown pass. It looked risky the way he was off balance and threw across his body, but it was the fourth guy in the check down, and he made it happen. Some guy who had only one catch on the night for 1 yard, but it was a touchdown. Hall? Yeah, I don't know who he is, but I gotta admit, Rodgers, that was well done. Oh, Green Bay got a sack. Pretty good. Clifton was able to hold off Jared Allen. That's pretty good. Although the sack might not have happened if Bryant McKinney was in, I feel like. And Clifton might not have been able to hold off Allen if he hadn't been holding Allen and drawing those flags. What Green Bay did poorly. Like I mentioned, Clifton was holding Allen. That's not the way to avoid sacks. Green Bay had a lot of penalties, so did Minnesota, but Green Bay's totaled like 120 yards or something ridiculous like that. Green Bay had that field goal blocked, that sloppy special teams work. Green Bay had that touchdown called back. You gotta rein in those young guards and let them not get down the field as an ineligible receiver. That just shouldn't happen. What Minnesota did well. Adrian Peterson had an enormous hit on Al Harris. That was awesome. Made me smile. Peterson had nice runs. Although I wish he'd get the ball in space a little more. Last year, that's all he got, so he got stuffed a lot, and he hit home runs a lot. So far, this week, he just ran the ball up the middle for the most part, and had good gains, but nothing huge. You gotta balance that out, I think, to be effective. Jackson's mechanics looked better. I liked his footwork. I liked the way he was throwing the ball. He connected with a lot of different receivers. There's promise there. Okay, Jackson is still young. He came from a small school. He still doesn't have that many starts. What's he got? 12, 14 starts. So I think a player needs about 30 before you really know whether or not they're a bust, especially at quarterback. He'll settle. McKinney coming back in will help. What else did Minnesota do well? The pass protection was actually pretty good without McKinney. Minnesota had incredible time control in the second half. They dominated, but they just couldn't make it happen. They couldn't get the win, and that's what counts. And I was looking forward to rain in that game. I saw a couple weather reports saying 90% chance for rain. That would have helped Minnesota out, but it wasn't there. All that to say, Green Bay won. They're at home. It was an opener. They won by less than a touchdown. It happens. I'm confident that in Week 10, Minnesota will have its act together. Green Bay will come to Minnesota. It's going to be a much better game from the Vikings standpoint, I hope. Looking ahead to next week, the Indianapolis Colts come to the Metrodome. And you'll recall last week the Bears pretty much took them apart. Peyton Manning's knee might be bothering him. Jeff Saturday, the center, being out might make things harder on Manning. The fact that he played no preseason and doesn't have his timing down with his receivers, especially Harrison, who missed so much time last year, probably doesn't help. And Joseph Adai has a head injury. I'm guessing it's a concussion. And we'll see if that affects his play next week, if he plays. All that to say, the Bears took care of the Colts with a good running game and very nice D. Is Minnesota's D as good as Chicago's? That remains to be seen. They're both very good defenses. Is Minnesota's running game as good as Chicago's? Matt Forte could explode. Hard to say, but I think Minnesota's running game is better right now. Is Minnesota's passing game better than Chicago's? Yeah, Tavares Jackson and Berrien Rice Shenko might not be a stellar combination, but it's got to be better than Orton and Booker and whoever they got over there in Chicago. And Chicago won on the road. If Indy doesn't make a lot of good adjustments and Minnesota can play the way it knows how to play, I think the Vikings could win this game. I'd love to start out 1-1. That was my prediction before the year started, but it was a win in Green Bay and a loss at home to Indianapolis. So we lost to Green Bay, got to win at Indy to stay pace with my prediction, which is 1-1 after 2 weeks and 2-2 after 4, with a win or a loss against Carolina and then the other against Tennessee. Carolina looked good against San Diego, and San Diego's Merriman is now out for the year with surgery. And Tennessee looked very good against Jacksonville. That defense was crushing. When you stop Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew, I feel like you could probably stop Adrian Peterson and Chester Taylor. But that remains to be seen. I'm so excited football's here. I'm glad it's a regular season. Vikings fans, don't get all angry and mad and stupid on YouTube comments against the Packers fans who are enjoying their moment in the sun. And Packers fans, take the win graciously. Most of the people making videos I've seen have done that, and that's cool. I hate it when the Vikings lose to the Packers, and deep down, I hate the Packers themselves, but I know how to be gracious and recognize cool fans of teams that happen to be a rival of my team when I see them. So, well done. Let's keep it clean and talk trash in a way that makes sense. All right, see ya.